Good morning.
Good morning, Anna.
How are you, Durval?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, thank you.
I didn't say. Hi, Tisha.
Hi, Durval. Hi, Anna. Let me see if this works. I have this. Let me make sure it's. What do I put?
It's on. I think that
No, let me mute.
So Anna, I didn't send you any slides because I will just be speaking without slides.
Yeah, that's what we discussed. Thank you so much.
In order for you to speak through. Okay. Hi, Anna. Oh, I was just making sure you could hear me clearly because we're using this external because America is there with me in the room.
Yep.
So just confirming that you can hear us clearly.
We can see you and hear you well.
Okay, great. Sorry, Anna, just one more thing. I realized we didn't finalize the list of probing questions for the discussion.
Yeah, you're correct. Let me send you a couple of questions so that we can have something in hand. I expect there will be plenty of questions from the participants as well, because there's going to be a lot of materials that will be shared as well.
All right, no problem. Thank you.
Tesha, I just sent you a couple of questions that we had in the backup of our slides, and we can use those in case there are no questions, but I hope that's not the case. And I see Javier just joined. Javier, do you want to test your video and mic? I think we all did, but just making sure that we can hear you and see you well.
Hello.
Good morning. Yes.
Good morning.
Let me check with Marcelo. I think he's the only panelist that we're missing. Marcelo, buenos días. Good morning.
Hi, Marcelo.
We can see you, but we can't hear you yet.
Ahora. Ahora sí. Ya.
Listo.
Anna, will we give the participants a little more time? 5
Okay.
minutes?
Sounds good.
Good morning, everybody. Those who are on, thank you so much for joining us early. We know that we are working with very tight schedules, so we do appreciate everyone coming and joining early and giving us part of your day on a Monday morning, afternoon, or evening for some on. So we please ask that we give other participants at least we're starting another 3 minutes with the webinar. So thank you so much. Okay, it's 11:06 on my end. So good morning again, and thank you all for joining us for this regional meeting on the feasibility and benefits of transition to mercury-free LED lighting in Latin America and the Caribbean. And so we have with us today, I would like to acknowledge and welcome with us today, Ms. Amrita Singh, who's the Program Manager for Sustainable Development here in the CARICOM Secretariat. I'd also like to welcome all our Mini-Matter Convention focal points from our member states in the Caribbean, representatives from our regional organizations, as well as private sector companies. We also want to thank our presenters today, Ms. Duval Bazi, who's also with the Secretariat as the project officer within the energy unit, Ms. Ana Maria Carreno, and Javier Otero, who's from our partnering agency, Clean Lighting Coalition, as well as Marcelo Padilla, who's from the Ministry of Energy in Chile. We're very happy to have you with us, as well as other participants from who are interested in this topic. It's going to be quite interesting, and we look forward to the discussions this morning. I am Tisha Jabatis. I'm the project coordinator for the third phase of the capacity building related to multilateral environmental agreements project that's with the Caribbean Hub that's being financed through the European Union and implemented through UNEP. So this is part of our capacity building initiatives we're doing for the Mini-Matter Convention and our other conventions. So we're very happy to be partnering with the Clean Lighting Coalition on this initiative. Without further ado, I would like to welcome Ms. Singh, who will be doing our welcome and introduction. Over to you, Ms. Singh.
Good morning, just doing a quick check that you all can hear me. Okay, great, I'm seeing a yes, thank you. Good morning again. All protocols observed, and let me also add my voice to saying good morning to our colleagues from the Caribbean region and our partners from wider Latin America and other parts of the world. Thank you for joining us this morning. It is a pleasure of the CARICOM Secretariat to partner with the Clean Lighting Coalition as we continue our work to raise awareness amongst our Mini-Matter negotiators ahead of the fourth conference of the parties on the Mini-Matter Convention Mercury, which takes place next week in Bali. For CARICOM, this webinar is being delivered as part of a wider project for capacity building related to the multilateral environmental agreements in the African, Caribbean, and Pacific country. The project is funded by the European Union and is coordinated globally by the United Nations Environment Programme. It first began in 2009, and we're now in our third phase. And the aim has been to empower our key stakeholders in the Caribbean region to address the environmental challenges and to reap the benefits of improved environmental management at the national and regional levels. In this phase of the project, we have made a concerted effort to focus on building support and capacity for the effective implementation, enforcement, monitoring, and reporting of the multilateral environmental agreements and the related commitments in the chemical and waste clusters, and to support our countries in the uptake of strategies to deliver on our biodiversity commitments. The information being presented and the discussions today are very timely as we take stock of the economic and environmental issues we're currently facing as a region. The feasibility and benefits of a transition to mercury-free LED lighting in the Caribbean will decrease dependency on fossil fuel and the growing burden on national grids, while targeting our enforcement and compliance goals under the Mini-Matter and other chemical and waste conventions. And we are we're very concerned and committed to ensuring synergies among our various MEAs, and we are very aware of the capacity constraints at the national level. So initiatives such as these are very, very welcome. So on behalf of the CARICOM Secretariat, I express appreciation to you, our participants, for accepting our invitation at such late notice, and our apologies for that. We hope that the information presented will be useful and enlightening to all and the interventions and will inform the interventions and engagements that will be made during the COP sessions. To our partners at the Clean Lighting Coalition, we thank you for your continuous dialogue and efforts in building capacity in this region. We look forward to continued partnerships and future engagements. So without prolonging this, let me wish you all a very informative and productive session. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Amrika. In this new era of virtual meetings, we do try to make things possible as as far as we are able. So thank you so much again. And we will not delay, but go right into our agenda. Today we will be having 4 presentations from persons from the Clean Lighting Coalition, as well as our CARICOM and Ministry of Energy colleague in Chile. So first presenter, sorry, just give me 1 minute, trying to maneuver here. Our first presenter is Ms. Durval Bazi, who is the project officer, as I indicated earlier, and she will be speaking on the transition to the better choice of lighting. Just a brief bio on Durval. She is an environmental sustainability professional with over 10 years of experience working at the nexus of energy and environmental risk management. So Durval's experience spans both industrial and regulatory sides of the energy sector, and she has worked in the areas of health, safety, and environment in the oil and gas sector, as well as in sustainable energy policy development at the ministry with responsibility for energy. Durval currently serves as the project officer at the CARICOM Secretariat in the energy unit. She is very qualified in the area as she holds degrees in sustainable energy management, environmental and natural resource management, as well as being trained in energy efficiency management. Over to you, Durval, as you present to us. Thank you very much.
Good morning, colleagues. Just confirming that you all are hearing me well.
Yes, loud and clear.
Great. So to my CARICOM colleagues, Ms. Tisha Batiste and Ms. Amrika Singh, Ms. Ana Maria Carino, and Mr. Javier Otero of the Clean Lighting Coalition, other representatives of the Clean Lighting Coalition, Mr. Marcelo Padilla of the Ministry of Energy, our Minamata focal points from CARICOM member states, as well as our energy focal points, other regional organizations and private sector agencies, other members of staff of CARICOM that may be joining us, ladies and gentlemen. I bring you brief remarks on behalf of the Energy Unit of the CARICOM Secretariat. We can all appreciate the need to shift our energy systems to become low carbon. Energy as the engine of development stands as a core driver of the sustainable and resilient future envisioned for the Caribbean community. We are well aware of the CARICOM region's pervasive reliance on fossil fuels to meet our energy demands. With the majority of member states being net importers of petroleum and petroleum products, the region has a high risk exposure to the volatility of the global energy commodity markets. Now, with the escalation of the Russian-Ukraine conflict, just a week ago, the price of Western Texas Intermediate crude peaked at US $128 a barrel. Today, the price of crude stands at US $104 a barrel. The implications of high oil prices for the region as a whole is not lost on any of us. It simply magnifies the vulnerability imposed by our continued dependence. Simultaneously, it amplifies the urgent need to revolutionize our energy systems and build resilience through a sustainable energy pathway. Together with the economic implications of hydrocarbon-based energy systems, the region has also responded to the universal call to action on climate change. The ambitious targets as defined in the nationally determined contributions under the Paris Agreement require aggressive transformation of our relationship with energy from both the supply and demand side of the equation. So as we work to shift the region from dependence to resilience, clean lighting has emerged as a viable vehicle that will transport us closer to the goal of ensuring that all CARICOM citizens have access to modern, clean, and reliable energy supplies at affordable and stable prices. Today's workshop on the feasibility and benefits of a transition to mercury-free LED lighting in Latin America and the Caribbean and proposed amendments to the Minamata Convention is indeed timely, relevant, and practical. A transition to energy-efficient, mercury-free lighting in CARICOM is endorsed by the CARICOM Secretariat for several reasons. Firstly, it supports the principles of the CARICOM energy policy, aligning well with the pillars of energy conservation and efficiency, energy and the environment, and energy and climate change. Our regional policy promotes energy savings in all sectors. It calls for ensuring that energy is supplied and consumed in a manner that creates minimal adverse impacts on the environment. Additionally, it supports regional and national targets for the reduction of greenhouse gas emissions in the energy sector. Friends, the lighting we choose significantly impacts the quality of our indoor and outdoor environments. But perhaps the impact that we can all directly relate to is the one on our pockets as consumers. The lighting we choose determines our energy expenditure. LEDs have been shown to consume up to 50% less energy than fluorescents. They also have a significantly longer lifespan. Switching to LEDs reduces the energy demand from power grids, and this translates to reduced carbon emissions. But also it translates to cost savings for energy consumers. This can be clearly seen in the reduced operating cost for buildings outfitted with LEDs. Simply put, LEDs are better for people, planet, and pockets. Now, the Minamata Convention on Mercury, launched in 2013, sets out to protect human health and the environment from anthropogenic sources of mercury. And several of our CARICOM member states have in fact signed on. We must move swiftly to protect the region against becoming an environmental wasteland. As other regions move away from fluorescent lighting, we cannot allow the Caribbean community to become a dumping ground for inefficient, pollution-inducing lighting. Therefore, by adopting the policy of mercury-free lighting, we will ensure that the region is not left behind. The CARICOM energy policy is based on a collective approach and collaboration. Consistent with the regional energy agenda, we are committed to a harmonized approach to this clean lighting transition. To this end, the CARICOM Secretariat's Energy Unit has been engaging stakeholders on an ongoing basis. Over the past year, the Energy Unit has been collaborating with CLASP on several interventions. As you may recall, in November 2021, we celebrated CARICOM Energy Month under the theme From Dependence to Resilience, Fueling Our Recovery with Sustainable Energy. One of our featured events was the Illuminate series. we partnered with CLASP to host a series of fireside chats discussing the value and benefits of clean lighting with regional and international experts. I invite all participants today to view the Illuminate series available on the CARICOM YouTube channel. We are also currently engaged with CLASP in developing a roadmap for efficient and mercury-free lighting in CARICOM, which is intended to guide member states in the development of national policies, legislations, and compliance programs. As lighting technology advances, our policies, regulations, and standards must also evolve. On that note, we acknowledge the work of our regional institutions, particularly the CARICOM Regional Organization for Standards and Quality, better known as CROSQ, which published the CARICOM Regional Standard for Energy Labeling of CFLs and LEDs in 2018. Additionally, the Energy Efficiency Lighting Laboratory, being established at the Trinidad and Tobago Bureau of Standards, will serve as a center of excellence for the region for testing and energy efficiency of lighting products. We look forward to the implementation of this regional scheme. The Caribbean Development Bank also continues to support the region's Resilience Trust, providing financing for energy efficiency solutions in the public sector. We are delighted to note that individual member states have recognized the value of becoming energy efficient and have begun progressing with country-level initiatives for clean lighting. Just as an example, Barbados has introduced the Control of Inefficient Lighting Act. This progressive act mandates the phase-out of the use and sale of inefficient electric lamps based on energy performance standards. The Synkits Electric Company Limited, supported by the CDB, began a street and floodlight retrofit project. The project involved the change-out of high-pressure sodium, mercury vapor, and metal halide lamps to LED lamps, thereby reducing street and flood lighting, energy consumption, and associated greenhouse gas emissions in St. Kitts and Nevis. Also, the government of Trinidad and Tobago launched a residential LED distribution program, as well as a street light project under the public lighting program. Jamaica is also pursuing the phase out of incandescent light bulbs through legislative reform. So these are just a few examples of the work being done at the national level for the market transition to clean lighting. As we move forward, we anticipate more of our member states taking similar measures to align their policies and legislations, and also to implement compliance programs. Mercury-containing light bulbs present a major challenge to our waste management systems. The co-mingling of mercury-containing bulbs in our general waste streams leads to the contamination of our land and waterways. As we accelerate this transition, we also confront the challenge of disposal of legacy bulbs, which contain mercury. This presents the opportunity for further regional collaboration to maximize economies of scale for the appropriate disposal of lighting throughout CARICOM. Opportunities also exist for improving the affordability of LED lighting to incentivize the market transition. The CARICOM Secretariat acknowledges the value of today's workshop and is pleased to partner with the Clean Lighting Initiative to jointly host this intervention. We commit to continued collaboration with our key stakeholders as we pursue a harmonized regional market for safe, clean, and efficient lighting products. Today's workshop is an important step in building consensus for regional cooperation, allowing us to identify synergies and to optimize the sharing of resources and expertise. We continue to advocate for and facilitate the creation of an enabling environment for the transition to energy efficient and mercury-free lighting in CARICOM. As CARICOM member states pursue sustainable energy systems, the role of clean lighting is critical as a source of economic savings, avoided emissions, and reduced toxic waste, thereby building resilience into our economies and environments. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Javal. Certainly a lot. And participants, please feel free to put your questions in either the Q&A section or the chat. And at the end of our presentations today, we will take questions. But as you think of any new thought, please remember to put in your question or comments or questions in the chat. So we will move to our second presentation, and that'll be done by Ana Maria Carreno. She is the Deputy Director of the Clean Lighting Coalition, a global partnership to capture the health and environmental benefits of transitioning to energy-efficient mercury-free LED lighting. She has over 15 years of experience managing regional and international programs with the goal to transform markets and improve energy performance of lighting, cooling, and other high-impact products. So today, Anna will be speaking to us on the advances in terms of legislative efforts driving a transition to clean lighting globally and in Latin America and the Caribbean. So Anna, over to you, and thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Tesha. And let me start by thanking the CARICOM Secretariat for this opportunity to partnership with the Clean Lighting Coalition and providing this venue to discuss the feasibility of a transition to clean lighting in the CARICOM region. We are very excited to be with you today. Thank you so much, Ms. Barcy, for setting the stage. I think you capture very well some of the key messages of this session in terms of the benefits to people, the environment, and pocket. I'm going to be borrowing your words moving forward as well. And I wanted to welcome the participants to this session. I hope you find it informative and useful, especially in the preparation for the upcoming Conference of the Parties in Bali that is taking place next week. So with that, let me share my screen so that we can all view the slides. If I can get maybe a nod head. Can you see my slides? Excellent, thank you. So we are the Clean Lighting Coalition. We are a partnership of NGOs, energy efficiency and mercury experts, all working together to phase out mercury in lighting through the Minamata Convention. And I know that we have a lot of partners and delegates that will be participating in the convention next week. But maybe for those of you who are not familiar with the Minamata Convention, I can give you a quick background. The convention was launched in 2013 with the goal to eliminate mercury that is used in products and processes as well. As you know, mercury is a very toxic substance. It's a neurotoxin that can cause health effects as well. So the goal of the convention is to eventually eliminate the use of mercury in all these products and processes. There are 137 parties to the convention. And when the convention was signed in 2013, of course, there were still products that contain mercury where there were no alternatives available. And it was in that context that products like fluorescent lighting that contain mercury were exempted from the convention. But what we are discussing today is that those exemptions are no longer necessary. We now have an alternative on the market that is mercury-free, that is clean, that is super efficient as well. And what we want to show the CARICOM member states today as well is the technical and economic feasibility of doing this transition in the region. So really, there is no need to continue with these exemptions, this is going to be discussed in the upcoming Conference of the Parties as well, in the context of a couple of amendments that I will be explaining next. What this means to the environment in terms of removing mercury-containing lighting, we are talking about eliminating 232 tons of mercury pollution in a period of 25 years, which is a significant source of mercury as well. So I want this group to keep that in mind. What is currently included in the convention, we talk about exemptions for products. These are covered in Annex A. What you see here is the 3 product categories that are going to be discussed in Bali. So we have compact fluorescent lamps. Right now, the exemption is for products that have a mercury content before 5 milligrams, or in other words, products that have mercury content over 5 milligrams are banned. That started in 2020. The other category is linear fluorescent lamps. Here we have 2, triband phosphor and halophosphate phosphor. And for each of these, the mercury content is different. For the first one is 5 milligrams, the second one is 10 milligrams. So products that exceed that mercury content are not allowed on the markets from 2020. And the third product category is called cathode fluorescent lamps and external electrode fluorescent lamps. These are products that are used in electronic displays. They have been mostly displaced by LEDs, so we don't expect these products to be longer in use. And they already have bans from mercury content exceeding 3.5, 5, and 13 milligrams, depending on the site as well. So those are the 3 categories that we will be discussing next. So first, for those of you who are participating, there are 2 amendments or 2 proposals on lighting that will be discussed in the next meeting. One of them is the European Lighting Amendment. It was proposed by the EU 27 countries last year in April. This one proposes to eliminate halophosphate fluorescent lamps by 2023. So let me go back to the previous slide. This category over here under linear fluorescent lamps, the second one. And just to give you more context, this product has been already banned in the European Union for 10 years. When you ban this product, it can still be replaced by another product that contains mercury. So halophosphate can be replaced by triband phosphor lamps. So we're not talking about eliminated mercury, but moving from a mercury added product to another as well. And lastly, for those of you who follow the European Union policy under the ROS Directive, the Restriction of Hazardous Substances Directive, the European Union has effectively phase out CFLs, linear fluorescent lamps from 2023. So all the products that were discussed in the previous slide, they will be banned in the European Union from 2023. Moving on to the second amendment that is on the table, this is the African Lighting Amendment. It was proposed by 36 parties of the convention at a time. Now there are 37 parties under Africa, and they propose bans for the 3 product categories that I mentioned below. For CFLs with integrated ballast by 2024, linear fluorescent lamps, the 2 categories by 2025, and then CCFLs and EFLs in 2024. And I think the rationale and the motivation of the African region to introduce this amendment echoes some of the comments that were discussed earlier about the benefits of a transition to clean lighting. The region is very concerned about what happens with lamps at the end of life. Most of the lamps, the majority of the lamps are not recovered, and mercury is not recovered. So the lamps end up in landfills and open-air dumpsters, and the mercury is released when the lamps breaks. So this is an important threat to environment and people as well. And also the region has been moving to more efficient products. There are a lot of initiatives and policy actions at the national level aiming to improve the markets to more efficient lighting through energy efficiency standards as well. So I think this is in line very much with those regional objectives of reducing dependency on fossil fuels, moving to more energy efficient products, and of course, reducing greenhouse emissions in the long term as well. So that speaks a little bit of the rationale of the African Lighting Amendment. We also wanted to share with you some of the global initiatives that are also pursuing a transition to clean and efficient lighting. For those of you who are familiar with the UNEP program, United for Efficiency, they have issued model regulations that again proposes standards for energy efficiency for lighting, and these standards already phase out fluorescents on the basis of efficiency. U4E is already working with more than 10 countries across the world in order to implement these standards. Another very interesting global, I would say, initiative as well is the Net Zero Emissions 2050 report that was issued by the International Energy Agency. In this report, they have identified what are the key actions and initiatives that can take us to that net zero scenario in 2050. And one of those is a transition to clean lighting. The IEA estimates that in order to reach net zero by 2050, every country will need to transition to LED lighting by 2025. And I think this is very much consistent with what we see proposed in the African Lighting Amendment as well. There are other global initiatives by the private sector. For instance, IKEA, which is a global retailer that some of you may be familiar with, has switched to only selling LEDs in their stores since 2015. So they are already embracing this transition to clean lighting from the products that they are selling. Other global initiatives and more related to policy initiatives that are shifting markets to LEDs. I already talked about the European Union. Maybe just to give you a quick overview of the process that they followed in order to ban inefficient lighting products. They started in 2009 banning incandescents, and then following shortly with halogens. In 2020, they banned most of the categories of fluorescent lighting, including CFLs, CCFLs, EFLs, and some of the linear fluorescents, the T12s. And then finally, the regulation that was adopted this year under the ROS directive phases out the remaining products, so the CFLs and all the other categories of linear fluorescent lamps by 2023. And I also mentioned the African region is phasing out mercury-containing lamps on the basis of efficiency. 16 countries in the Southern African Development Community and 6 countries in the East African Community are already adopting harmonized standards that are going to be shifting the markets to LEDs on the basis of efficiency. Looking at the regional level, we're going to be hearing from Marcelo next, so I won't talk about the situation in Chile. Uruguay is a very interesting case study. We know that they implemented a policy that requires fluorescent lamps importers and manufacturers to present a very comprehensive end-of-life management program in order to allow the sale of fluorescent lamps. And what this has caused is effectively phasing out the use of fluorescent lighting because it is too expensive, it is too burdensome to implement those plans, and manufacturers have decided to shift to LEDs instead. Other initiatives that are also using efficiency, Mexico, for instance, has a norma oficial mexicana that already establishes maps and safety standards for LEDs. And then Argentina has also a plan in order to replace public lighting by LED technology under the Efficient Public Lighting Plan. I wanted to share as well a couple of the market transformation initiatives by the Clean Lighting Coalition. And I think we heard earlier about those opportunities to retrofit programs as well from the CARICOM Energy Unit. Under the Click Lighting Coalition, we are sponsoring a couple of projects in the region, specifically in Brazil, in partnership with the Projeto Hospitais Suravez. We are launching a retrofit project on the clinic of the teaching hospital of Botucatu. And this is to show the feasibility, but also to show as well the benefits of this replacement of lamps. We estimated that there is going to be approximately 3,000 lamps replaced with new LED bulbs, and the savings are going to be significant for this institution, about electricity expenditures savings by 40%. And another market transformation initiative in the region that might be interesting as well. We heard about the testing facility, lighting testing facility in Trinidad and Tobago. There is another testing facility as well in Costa Rica. The Clean Lighting Coalition is supporting building capacity in this lab specifically to perform LED lamp flicker tests as well. And if you have any questions about this, my colleague Javier will be able to answer any more questions as he's leading this project as well. And I think this is the last one. Yes, so let me stop here. I know that we will have Q&A sessions at the end. So Tesha, maybe we can follow to the next one, but thank you again for the opportunity to present this information.
Yes, thank you very much, Anna. And certainly it's quite a bit of information, and I know persons are already thinking and perhaps have some questions, but please feel free to put your questions in the Q&A section or the chat. Any thoughts on what Anna has presented? And we'll move over to have some a presentation from Marcelo Padilla, who's is part of the team of the Energy Efficient Division at Energy Ministry of Chile. He is responsible for coordination of the labeling program and the minimum energy performance standards in the ministry. He has been working on these issues since 2007, and today he'll be sharing with us Chile's transition to energy efficient lighting. So without further ado, over to you, Marcelo. Thank you very much.
Thanks. Yo hablaré en español para poder hablar más tranquilo y solicito la ayuda de Javier. Okay, so Marcelo is going to talk in Spanish just to make things easier, and I'm going to be doing the consecutive interpreting for all of you. Muchas gracias, Javier. Bueno, agradezco la invitación del secretariado para poder exponer brevemente el estándar de iluminación o el caso de nuestro país. Okay, thank you very much to CARICOM Secretary to invite me to present this opportunity to present the minimum energy performance standards in Chile, the case study here. En este caso vamos a revisar de manera muy resumida lo que ha sido el desarrollo del estándar entre el año 2007 y la actualización hasta que comienza ahora. So we're going to briefly look at the development of this minimum energy performance standards since 2007 to the most recent update that is starting just now. Por favor, la próxima. Next slide, please. Gracias. Brevemente, nosotros cuando comenzamos el año 2007, el programa en nuestro país, la mayor cantidad de lámparas que se comercializaban eran las lámparas incandescentes. So when we started in 2007, most of the lamps that were commercialized in the country were incandescent lamps. Tal como ustedes pueden ver en este cuadro, la lámpara incandescente es por lejos la más ineficiente de todas. Y en esa época, el resto de las ampolletas que estaban en el comercio eran principalmente lámparas fluorescentes compactas y, como ustedes podrán ver en un cuadro a continuación, no habían prácticamente ampolletas LED. So in 2007, the most common lamp was the incandescent, which, as you can see here, is the most inefficient lamp. The other lamp that was very predominant in the market back then was the compact fluorescent lamp that is also shown on the table. Ana María, ¿puedes poner la siguiente, por favor? Gracias. El año 2007 nosotros comenzamos con el programa de etiquetado de ampolletas. En este caso, para las ampolletas fluorescentes compactas y las lámparas incandescentes. Como primer resultado, se generó un cambio en el mercado porque las personas tuvieron acceso a conocer la calidad de iluminación que da una de cada tecnología. So in 2007, the first initiative that we started with was the labeling program for lamps. So this was affecting incandescent lamps, compact fluorescent lamps, and linear fluorescent lamps. And this definitely made an impact because people were able to see the differences between the qualities of lighting of each product. Y para este año comenzó, el 2021, perdón, se actualizó el estándar mínimo de eficiencia energética porque también se generó un efecto no deseado que fue el ingreso de ampolletas halógenas, que también tenía un índice de eficiencia bastante bajo. Por lo tanto, a partir de este año, la eficiencia mínima que nosotros estábamos exigiendo son 40 lúmenes por watt. 2 años más, este límite sube a 70 lúmenes por watt y finalmente el año 2025 se define una eficiencia mínima de 85 lúmenes por watt. Con esto nosotros queremos dejar fuera las lámparas fluorescentes compactas desde el punto de vista energético. Okay, so in 2021 we updated the minimum energy performance standards of the country because when we phased out incandescents, we had the unexpected effect that then halogens stayed in the market, and then they flooded a bit the market, which halogens are also another inefficient technology. So this year, we made the phase out of any lamps that have a minimum efficacy below 40 lumens per watt. Last year. Then in 2 years, we're going to have 70 lumens per watt that's the minimum energy performance standard for lamps. And then finally, by 2025, we're going to have a minimum energy of 85 lumens per watt. So this will effectively phase out halogens, compact fluorescent lamps, and anything that is below the quality that currently is only given by LED.
Siguiente, por favor. En este cuadro ustedes pueden ver el efecto que ha tenido la implementación de las políticas de eficiencia energética en nuestro país entre el 2013 y el año 2020. Cuando...
Okay. So on this chart, you can see the impact of the policies, the minimum energy performance standards that we have applied in the country, the impact that it has had on the market. On the top, you can see is compact fluorescent lamps for general use. So that's probably one that you want to see. And all of these are, the first three are fluorescent lamps, and then the following, the fourth one is incandescent lamps, and then the fifth one is halogens. And then finally, at the end is the LED lamps.
Tal como les comentaba, el año 2013 la mayor cantidad de tecnologías eran las ampolletas incandescentes. De hecho, 42 millones de unidades versus 9 millones de ampolletas con cerca de 10 millones considerando las lámparas fluorescentes. Y ustedes pueden ver que lámparas LED prácticamente no existían. Sin embargo, hoy en nuestro país la mayor cantidad de ampolletas que se venden son lámparas LED.
Okay, so as you can see here, in 2013, we had a very large number of incandescent lamps with 42 million. And that gradually went down as the policies were implemented. Today, the most popular product of lighting is LED lamps, as you can see here.
Sí. Si bien aún tenemos ampolletas halógenas, ya a partir del próximo año o de este año, estas deberían ir comenzando a bajar para que ocurra el mismo proceso que las lámparas incandescentes. Y debido a los precios, que una de las razones por las que nosotros hemos implementado esta política es porque el precio de las lámparas LED son competitivas si se compara con el resto de las tecnologías.
So as you can see here on this chart as well, on the fifth row, you can see that we still have a large number of halogens in the market, but that should phase out this year when we start in the implementation of the new standards that completely phase out halogens.
Mm-hmm.
Also, sorry, Marcelo, ¿puedes repetir lo último que habías dicho?
Que esperamos que las lámparas halógenas tengan pase lo mismo, que se disminuya la cantidad de ampolletas.
Yeah, so what we're expecting is that is halogens to phase out and you know I remember. So basically the reason why we made this right now is because LED lamps, I mean, before they were not as affordable, but right now the prices are highly competitive and are equal or lower than the compact fluorescent lamps in the market right now.
Yes, es así. Uno de los efectos que hemos tenido en la red eléctrica fue que el año 2016, cuando entró en vigencia de manera total el estándar para ampolletas incandescentes, el crecimiento de la demanda eléctrica fue prácticamente cero. Fue un efecto bastante positivo y que tuvo repercusiones mediáticas. Por lo tanto, afortunadamente, esta política tuvo buenos resultados y es por eso que se mantiene y actualiza de manera constante.
So one of the effects that we have seen is that despite the increased use in the demand of lighting, the actual consumption because of these policies has been zero. So basically, there has not been an increase in the electricity demand, even though there has been a higher use of lamps, which is an effect of this transition to efficient lighting.
Sí. La siguiente, por favor. No, y tal como Ana María comentó, una de las cosas que nosotros como país y nuestros objetivos es ser carbono neutrales en el corto plazo. A nivel internacional, prácticamente el 51% del comercio es LED. Pero para ser carbono neutrales necesitamos que el 100% de las lámparas comercializadas a nivel residencial o de uso doméstico sean LED. Es un paso que nos permitirá ser, tal como dijo una panelista anterior, más eficientes, más responsables en términos ambientales y que disminuirá los gases de efecto invernadero. Por lo tanto, esto es una cruzada que depende de todos nosotros.
Okay, so one of the goals of Chile with all of this is to become carbon neutral. And the only, in the short term, and the only scenario where this is possible is by doing a transition to 100% LEDs in the market. Right now we have 51%, but that's not enough. We need to get to 100%. Only this way we can reach, if we do this transition in the residential sector and all sectors, this is the only way that we can do, just as Ms. Barcy said, get a more efficient, something that is better for the pockets, and improve general greenhouse, lower greenhouse emissions, and better for the economy as well.
Por lo tanto, contar con políticas que se orienten a la eficiencia energética, así como eliminar tecnologías obsoletas como el mercurio, nos permiten avanzar de manera más rápida y coordinada entre todos los países de América Latina y el Caribe.
So by making possible in the implementation of policies that for energy efficiency and also to reduce the mercury content in products in our markets is the only way that we can, in a concerted way together as a region, move ahead and towards these goals.
Y la importancia de mantener políticas públicas coordinadas nos permite también contar con laboratorios, etiquetas y estándares, tal como se dijo anteriormente, que permitan evolucionar en las políticas públicas con una mirada más de largo plazo y de cooperación entre los estados.
And in this way, if we do a concerted movement in the same direction, is a way that we can guarantee that there will be an availability of testing laboratories and harmonized standards and labels across the region. That is the best way to move ahead for our goals.
Eso era principalmente. Muchas gracias y pido las disculpas por el tema del idioma. Muchas gracias, Javier, por la traducción.
Well, with this, I'm going to end my presentation. I thank you very much all for the opportunity to sharing the experience of the Chile. And yes, now I guess the mic passes on to me, but first, please go ahead, Tesha.
Thank you very much, Marcelo. Muchas gracias. That's all my Spanish for now, but thank you for your presentation. And I'm sure that the participants, and we're very happy because we do have representatives from the DR, Dominican Republic, with us. So I know they're very pleased to get the information in Spanish. So muchas gracias. I will now move to our third and final presentation this morning, and that will be from Javier Otero Pena. He's the regional support. He's the regional support person for Latin America and the Caribbean for the Clean Lightning Coalition. He has worked for the United Nations Environment Program for several years, working on energy efficiency, climate change, and climate finance projects, including the UNEP-JEF Enlightening Initiative to support the global transition to efficient lighting. Javier holds a master's degree in environmental policies and sustainable development and an MP master's in environmental psychology. Today, he will be speaking to us on the availability of non-mercury alternatives and regional benefits for CARICOM. So over to you, Javier. Thanks again.
Thank you very much, Vistecia. Thank you very much, everybody, CARICOM Secretariat for having us here. Thank you, Marcelo, for and Derval Barsi for the wonderful presentations and for setting the environment and everything. Thank you all for being here today and for having the opportunity to allow us to talk to you about this very important matter for the region. What I'm going to be, one second, just to share the screen. Apologies, one second. Okay, everybody here? All right. So basically, oh, sorry, one second. That was having a technical difficulty. Okay, right here. So as Mr. Chi said, I'm going to present the availability of non-mercury alternatives and regional benefits for CARICOM. First of all, I would like to start by talking a little bit about the Latin American and Caribbean situation regarding the LED manufacturing and assembly and fluorescent lamps. So first of all, it's important to note that Latin America and the Caribbean is a net importer of fluorescent lamps. So in 2019, Mexico was the 4th largest importer of fluorescent lamps for a market of $51.3 million. Many of the lamps that Mexico imports are also for re-exporting. So because they also work as a hub for other countries. So, you know, it's not only a Mexico situation, it's for the whole region. This is just to exemplify. CFL manufacturers in the region have evolved in the market and transitioned to LED lamp manufacturing assembly. We were really trying to look for what the situation of the market is regarding CFLs, and we couldn't find right now anybody who is actually manufacturing CFLs in the region. This doesn't necessarily indicate that they're completely off, but they're virtually non-existent at the moment. So this is important to note that any phase out will not really affect the economy of any of the countries here. Another important aspect of the market is that there has been a growth in the number of LED assemblers, manufacturers in the region. And this is because of the relative safety and accessibility of LED components. As an example, we have that 19 out of the 50 most important LED companies in the region are local, are Latin American and Caribbean companies. They account for 12.7% of the regional market share. So it's lamps made in our region at home. Some of the actors that we can mention, for example, I already mentioned Mexico. Well, Mexico holds 4.6% of the global LED luminary exports and 0.6% of the LED packages and matrices. So it is a relatively important country globally for the LED market. And Brazil has 13 of the 50 most important companies in the region, including Tashira, which is the second one after Signify. Now, maybe before I go on, I mean, there's, you know, like trying to move ahead with some of the questions that people may have with LEDs. It is important to know, I mean, like one of the biggest concerns that people have when talking about LEDs in the commercial settings is, do you have to change your fixtures? I mean, is it necessary to change the whole situation if you want to transition from linear fluorescent lamps to LED? And the answer is that in nearly all cases, no, this is not necessary. Many companies have developed retrofit, like true retrofit alternatives to linear fluorescent lamps, which do not need to rewire. Such is the case of Philips Signify, Osram LED Vans, and Tungsram, for example, that are just 3 of the many companies that offer this type of products that we are quoting here. That they say, for example, quick, simple, and safe lamp replacement without rewiring is available from them. And there are literally tens of thousands of Mercury-free LED retrofit lamps. It is also important to note, you know, because when people think that there may be a concern with this, it is important then to remember that there is no need for this. It's just a matter of finding the right lamps, because there are many different types of lamps, and not all lamps fit every single adapt to every single situation. Just the same way that no no ballast accepts all linear fluorescent lamps. There are different kinds of ballast for different kinds of linear fluorescent lamps as well. So it is important to remember this as well. Now, there are many different diameters, lengths, ballast types that adapt to all kinds of different ways. And for the small number of fixtures where LED retrofits are not directly possible, they're not compatible, there is a solution in which you bypass with mains voltage at the sockets, and then the LED tubes operate directly from that. And that way you basically just bypass the ballast without even needing to remove it. So another question that many people have regarding LED is, are LED retrofit tubes safe to use? We have heard and we have read that you know, many of the people who are trying to encourage people not to support the transition to LEDs are spreading information about LEDs being dangerous, which is not really the case. I mean, there are IEC safety standards for LEDs, lamps, and tubes. Here are the links for the different standards. And as long as the standards are followed and the standards are set in countries, there shouldn't be no concern. There have been recalls of products. Yes, there have been, but so have been recalls of products, CFL and LFL products, incandescent products, halogen, all kinds of lamps have always been, you know, have always had in a certain point in time situations where a lamp was malfunctioning, but it's a problem of manufacturing, not a problem of the technology in general. Okay, so this is important. In general, LEDs are 100% safe, as long as, yeah, like the standards are followed and the instructions are followed. So to install. Now, one of the activities that we did at the Clean Lighting Coalition, now to jump into market and specifically to CARICOM, we have one of the activities that we did is we asked our partners in the region, different non-governmental organizations in the region, to help us with finding what is out there in the market. So in many countries, I'm going to say, yeah, we had people actually go on, I mean, on the field, go to different stores, purchase different types of lamps. And in this, I have to say, I have to make a special mention to Integrated Health Outreach in Antigua and Barbuda. Thank you so much for all the help that you did. They helped us coordinate not only for the purchase of lamps in Antigua, but also in 4 other countries, which was wonderful. And we're going to share with you the results very briefly of of the findings of this. But what I want to show you here in this chart is that on the top area, you can see the contrast between general incandescent halogens, which are on the bottom, and then here in the middle, the gray points, dots, which are the general CFL, and then on top, the dark blue ones and the orange ones are the LED technology. So you can see that already in the market, it is clear that the LED technology is much more efficient than the alternatives. Here is another chart where you can see where the range of the efficacy, and LED linear and LED lamps are clearly more efficient than linear fluorescent lamps and compact fluorescent lamps available in the market. You can see though that there is an area where the two where both the technologies are as efficient. So that's why it's important to establish standards such as the one that, for example, Marcelo presented in Chile, just to ensure that not only is the best technology, but it's the best version of that technology. Because there's no point in getting LED lamps if they're going to be 40 lumens per watt efficacy. So that's important to know. Like, you need to make sure that the standards are in place to do. But I mean, this is just to show you the range of different efficiencies that we have in the region. Now, as a result of the market study, we did an analysis for every country where we have lamp information. As you can see here, for the whole region, on the left, you have the CFL price versus the LED prices. And you can see that the prices are very competitive. And in most cases, you can find actually cheaper LED lamps than CFLs. So what this shows is that the situation has changed drastically since 2013, the year when the Minamata Convention was signed and agreed upon, which means that the specific clauses in Annex A that Ana Maria presented earlier about the exceptions for CFLs because there was no alternative, here today, 2022, this is no longer applicable. There are efficient, cheap, and good quality alternatives to CFLs, which do not contain mercury, most importantly. So in all of these countries, every time that you see the instantaneous, it means that the lamp is cheaper. All the others, in the few cases where the lamps were not cheaper, you can see that the largest time, the longest time that you will have to wait to pay back the lamp just from the savings and energy consumption is going to be 6 months. Everything else is just straight away. Now, the same situation happens with linear fluorescent lamps versus tube LEDs. Of course, in this case, the paybacks are shorter, but are longer, but there is still a very good trade-off, not only in terms of energy savings and economic savings, but also because of the mercury that we are avoiding to be released in the environment. Now, here is also some examples of countries of the detailed analysis that we did. As you can see, we put as an example 2 different photos of the lamps that were taken by our partners in the region. And each of these lamps, I mean, every study that we did is based on actual lamps that were in the market. This is not something that we are modeling or estimating. The models are based on real data, on real lamps that people in your countries can get access to in their markets. In the same way, as you can see, I'm not going to go very detailed into any of it because, I mean, there are many countries that we did this analysis, but I just wanted you to have a glimpse of the information that we have available for each of the countries. I mean, we compared the prices of the lamps. We compared, we did for the general use, we did a 10-year analysis, and for the linear fluorescence, we did a 4-year analysis. And in both cases, the results are that each lamp is consumes about half the energy, the electricity, than the CFL counterpart. And it has no mercury, which is the best. Now, in some other cases, we also had available, for example, here, some information coming out of the MEPC model that we're going to briefly talk to later. But it just basically shows in our model the avoided number of compact fluorescent lamps sales. In this case, 600. In the case of Belize, 601,000 lamps. Then the avoided linear fluorescent lamps, 544,000. We can even foresee if the amendment is approved, the African amendment is approved, up to 2050. 7 kilograms of mercury would be avoided in this market, and a national energy savings of 0.5 terawatt hours, for a total of $87.1 million savings, which added up as the CARICOM region, and more largely as a Latin American and global region, you can picture the savings. So as I said, I mean, we have a similar study for each country where we had lamps. Guyana, Jamaica as well, and in all the cases, you can see that this is the way to go. It's the best. It offers the best benefits for the trade-off, the added trade-off, or the added benefit of no mercury, which is wonderful. And also Trinidad and Tobago, and you can see all the different lamps, the photos that we used for this analysis. So for this study, it was very important to have the support of all the NGOs. Thank you, Integrated Health Outreach, and all the other NGOs in the region that helped us do this, make this study possible. Now, I mentioned the MEPC model, and part of the estimations that we do with this model is what are going to be the CO2 and the mercury emission savings from the transitions. And here we have an example of all the countries where we had enough data to do this analysis for the region. Unfortunately, I apologize for those countries where we didn't have enough data. That is Antigua Barbuda, Cuba, Dominica, Grenada, St. Kitts and Nevis, St. Lucia, and St. Vincent and the Grenadines. But all the others are reflected here. And as you can see, there are very significant savings for each country in the region in terms of CO2 emissions and mercury avoided from just doing this transition to LEDs. Now, globally, or as a region, this would translate to 11.3 metric tons of mercury avoided from 2025 to 2050, and 39 megatons of CO2 avoided from 2025 to 2050. Globally, the numbers are much greater, which is 232 metric tons of mercury and 3,500 megatons of CO2, which is a number that is equivalent to getting all passenger cars globally off the road for a whole year. So it's not nothing. It's a very important number, and it's in our hands to reach this number. And that's why we are here, and that's why we hope that all of you are on board with supporting the African Amendment to phase out for good CFLs and LFLs and all kinds of mercury-containing lamps, which are no longer necessary. Also, it's very important to mention that even if the amendment were not to pass, the mercury, you still have, I mean, we are all still, as Minamata signees, under the obligation of phasing out lamps that are under over a certain threshold of mercury content. And I mean, but then how are you going to guarantee that these lamps really satisfy this minimum? I mean, you will have to do like a lot of you know, follow-up and verification and enforcement to make sure that the 5 milligram or 10 milligram standard is respected. You won't have this problem if the technology is phased out altogether. And as we showed in these slides, there's no reason not to do it. For more information about the regional report, all the information that I presented is available in this regional report. I'm going to share the link to this regional report on the chat as we speak. And you can go ahead and download it. It is currently only in English. So Marcelo and our colleagues from Dominican Republic, apologies, the version in Spanish is coming up soon. Okay, but in the meantime, you can still see the version in English. And I also wanted to invite you to join our MEPSI webinar, which is the overview of our newest MEPSI feature, including data for lighting models and an African amendment to the Minamata Convention on Mercury scenario. A detailed walkthrough on how to run an analysis with this tool. It's a very amazing tool. I invite you all to just explore it. There's case study examples, a multiple tier policy analysis demonstration, and open floor for feedback, comments, and suggestions. I'm also going to share this shortly, this link, in case you are interested. Ana Maria, did you want to say anything else about the MEPSI webinar? Or?
Thank you, Javier. No, I think you covered very well. I believe it's happening Wednesday. So if a country is interested in going over these scenarios and maybe having the opportunity to run the numbers, I invite you to do that. And this is a model that covers not only lighting products, but other products as well that are high energy consumers. So if you're interested in analyzing the energy demand of these products and what potential policy interventions can do, it's a very good tool. So we just didn't want to miss the opportunity to share it with you here, because I'm sure it will be of interest to some of you.
Great. Thank you, Ana Maria. And well, with this, we reached the end of our presentation. Here are contacts in case you want to write them down. And also, if you have any questions, we would be more than happy to, to assist you and to clear up any concerns that you may have. So go ahead and use the question and answer panel, or just write them on the chat, or any other way. Thank you very much. I yield to Ms. Jean-Baptiste. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Javier. And yes, it's quite a lot of information and a lot of food to process. So I know that we have persons who want to ask our presenters their questions, or perhaps it's a comment. Now you have the opportunity. We have 15 minutes until the time we had allotted to the session. We don't want to go beyond, especially, at the 12:30 mark, but please, at this time, I'm going to look at the panel, the attendees listing. And if you would like to take the floor, please just indicate with the raise hand icon, and I will acknowledge you, and you may unmute your mic and speak. So do we have anybody who would like to ask our panelists, Marcello, Javier, Anna, or Duval, any questions at this time? I don't see any hands up. So maybe if I could just ask in terms of our panelists. So just a general question. So what happens if the amendment is not approved? Would CFLs make a strong comeback in the region? I guess for our colleagues at the Clean Lighting Coalition, perhaps giving consideration from the other sessions you had in the Latin America, you know, has this question been posed, and you all have had any thoughts on this?
Thank you, Tisha, for the question. So there is already a transition to mercury-free lighting, and we expect that all the markets are heading in that direction. We see more and more the market share of CFLs coming down. The market share of linear fluorescent lamps is starting to come down as LED alternatives, as we have seen, are widely available and affordable as well. So we expect the transition is going to happen at some point. But I think the rationale for talking about this right now, for maybe using the Minamata Convention as a mechanism, is because we have an opportunity to accelerate that transition. We know that the LED alternatives are already on the market. There is already a very strong economic justification and technical justification to transition. And Javier talked about the environmental benefits, which are significant. You know, many countries, as Marcelo discussed, are thinking about how to get to those net zero carbon targets, how to reduce energy demand, how to reduce resilience, how to improve resilience, and transition, and accelerating the transition to clean lighting is a very good mechanism to achieve those targets. So the Minamata Convention offers us this mechanism to do it right now at the global level. But if that doesn't happen, it's up to every country to accelerate the transition nationally, and they can do so via policy, energy efficiency policy. They can do so via mercury policy as well, as some of the countries in the region are doing it as well. So I think it's an opportunity for everyone to grab, and we hope that it's going to be done through the Minamata Convention. But if not, I think every country has a good opportunity to do that as well. Javier, do you want to comment?
Yeah, I just wanted to add something briefly. Thank you, Ana Maria. It's that we saw in Marcelo's presentation how by phasing out incandescents, there was a spike of halogen lamps. And from having like 2 million, 3 million in the market, it jumped up to 16 million the year of the phase out. So if we do not, as a region, move together and approve the phase out of mercury of toxic lighting, what will happen is that all the manufacturers that have to leave the markets of the north that have effectively phased out toxic lighting are going to come and are going to there's going to be a big comeback despite all the efforts and all the availability of LEDs in the market right now. There's a risk of there being a rebound from all these technologies, and then basically since they can no longer use the markets of the north, they're going to come to our markets that are less regulated, and they're going to make a disaster in terms of all the mercury available lamps, mercury lamps available. So it's important that we avoid that from happening.
Thank you very much. Please feel free to send in your. I see we have two questions here. The first question is for Marcelo. Is from Sherman Francis, and he's asking what was or is the impact of the transition from inefficient lighting on the national grid. Is there any research on this? And just to note that we will be sharing the presentations and all the materials from today's session with everyone who registered for the webinar. So please feel free to, so Shanae will be following up with you. But Marcelo?
Marcelo, que estoy
Okay.
necesita.
Sí, por favor, si quiere, si estoy correcto, es el efecto de la transición en la red eléctrica, ¿verdad?
Sí.
Sí. Bueno, en este caso, se espera que la red eléctrica sea más resiliente considerando una disminución de las horas peak. Esto también impacta en el ingreso de tecnologías renovables. Entonces, abordar la disminución de los consumos de energía junto con el ingreso de nuevas tecnologías y mecanismos de energía renovable es una política que se está desarrollando como Estado, y eso es importante. Tenemos una política de transición energética, una política a largo plazo, y también, bueno, ahora que comienza un nuevo gobierno, estamos esperando cuáles son los principales lineamientos, y entre esos lineamientos está una transición energética justa. Pues sí, eso es principalmente la respuesta.
Okay, so basically, 1 second, sorry. So basically, what has happened with the national grid is that the national grid has become more resilient. And we're talking, for example, especially at peak hours, the electricity consumption has gone down because of the energy efficient lamps. And this is something that they can see already as a result of the transition to efficient lighting. This also goes hand in hand with the support of and the access to renewable energy technologies for in the country, because as there's less peak hour, less energy consumption at peak hours, I mean, it can be compensated by renewable technologies. Now, in Chile, this happened because, remember, there is a policy of state, like the state decided, they created this, developed this policy for transition, for energy transition. And there are long-term energy measures being taking place. And now that there is a new office, the new president is just starting office. They're also hoping for another component to be added to these policies, which is that of having a fair transition that is just and fair for all. Mm-hmm.
Gracias. So we have another question from Mario. Mario, if you wish to speak, but your question is, do you also own instructions on disposal of toxic lamps? And I'm not sure who that question is targeted to. So if you want to speak, please feel free to unmute your mic and clarify or address who exactly you're asking the question. And just to move on to another question here, we have a question in the chat while Mario is from Priscilla, who asks, what is the process for safe disposal of mercury for the phase out lamps?
Maybe I can comment on both questions, Tesha, and I'll invite Javier and others to jump in as well. As part of this campaign, we wanted to look into what were the current recycling rates of lamps across different economies, because of course, the assumption when we transitioned to mercury fluorescent lighting was that the mercury was going to be recovered at the end of life. That didn't happen. In the best cases, we see some European countries having recycling rates maybe up to 30 or 40%. In the US, where I'm based, the recycling rates are about 25%. And what we found in Africa and in general in Latin America is recycling rates less than 10%. So there is no recovery of the lamps at the end of life. And that means most of these lamps are going to be broken at the end of life, and mercury is going to be released to the environment. We've talked a lot about what needs to happen, and that means effective collection schemes to recover the lamps, effective transport schemes to make sure the lamps reach a treatment facility, and then processes to recover the mercury and dispose it correctly as well. And these are very expensive processes as well. So I think if, and we've heard a lot from countries, there is a concern about what happens with mercury at the end of life, but to us, the best way of targeting this is reducing mercury pollution at the source. Let's get rid of the lamps first. Implementing effective collection schemes, effective treatment and recovery facilities is going to be very expensive. And I think the best resource and mechanism that we have right now is to get rid of the mercury at the source. Javier.
Thank you, Ana Maria. So yes, just to complement what, I mean, it's very clear from what Ana Maria said. I also proposed the idea of, there are certain actors in the region already that are making their best efforts to try to, help with the collection and the safe removal of mercury from the system. We can have, for example, I can cite, for example, our colleagues Integrated Health Outreach in Antigua and Barbuda, who are an NGO who has been involved in projects for trying to collect lamps in the country and try to make a safe disposal. Again, as Ana Maria said, this is generally these initiatives are very costly. So the best way is just to to avoid it in the future. But look at what is being done in your region. There may be small actors that are doing their best efforts to try to do this, and they could be people to talk to, people that can orient or guide a regional approach to safely dispose of the mercury already out there.
Thank you very much. And Mario, just to add that, through the project, we're about to launch a training manual. We just completed training late last year, and it will provide guidance in terms of how to dispose some environmentally sound solutions to the disposal of mercury-added products. So that will be launched very soon, and if you were registered, we would follow up with you to send that manual once it's published. So just to move to another question. So Herbert Zahn is asking, is Minamata Convention just considering lamps containing mercury, or if a CFL which contains mercury is able to meet an efficiency of, example, 700 megawatts, it will be allowed into a country that has a set MEPS for lighting? So this is Zan, I believe, from Ghana Energy Commission, asking that question.
So may I say, so basically, no, Minamata only refers, it doesn't refer even to the efficiency at all. Minamata is about the mercury content. And as it is right now, Minamata allowed, I mean, in the amendment, if the African amendment doesn't pass, basically all lamps that have a content of over 5 milligrams, CFLs, I'm referring specifically to CFLs, which have over 5 milligrams of content, mercury content, are allowed in the market regardless of their efficiency. What is being proposed, for example, the solution that is proposed by Chile, for example, if a CFL happens to get a 78 lumen per watt efficiency, which then yes, I mean, it could be in the market until 2025, where the standard will be 85 lumens per watt. And then it will be again. And if another lamp makes it through and at 85, but then here, remember that Chile as a signatory to the Minamata Convention will also have to abide by the mercury limits. So if the amendment did not get approved and there is a 90 lumen per watt mercury containing lamp, yes, it would be allowed in the market. But the question is, why would you want that when there is already an alternative that does not have the mercury and offer that level or even greater efficacy? But yeah, technically it could be. And if this were the case in the future, for a country that phased out inefficient lamps this way, in this method, and not with the mercury content, just saying no mercury is allowed, then new policies should be studied and to satisfy the need of not having mercury. But Ana Maria, did you want to add something? Or okay.
Thank you so much. I know, Deval, you have a question placed in the chat, but please feel free to unmute your mic and present it. I think if there are no other questions after Deval, we could close off the session. So Deval, over to you.
Thank you, Tisha. I was very interested in Marcelo's presentation with regards to the progress being made in Chile. And I wanted to get from him and also the rest of the panel in terms of their perspectives on improving the cost competitiveness of LED bulbs in the Caribbean, in particular, given our small and fragmented markets. So we'd love to get your thoughts on that.
Marcelo, ¿entendiste?
Si es que alguna estrategia para bajar los precios de las LED en mercados fragmentados.
Exactamente.
Mira, creo que la mejor alternativa es contar con regulaciones homogéneas. Creo que esa es la principal estrategia. De hecho, en nuestro país pasa que países que tienen cercanos, países fronterizos, que no cuentan con estándares, son los que reciben la tecnología que estaba originalmente orientada a nuestro país. En términos prácticos, también Chile, si bien es una economía un poco más grande que los países CARICOM, tampoco es un país tan grande. Entonces, la idea, y es clave, la coordinación entre los diferentes países, principalmente fronterizos, para que las políticas regulatorias sean similares. Si no, lo que va a ocurrir es que los precios no se van a poder disminuir y la tecnología que obsoleta va a ir de un país a otro.
So yeah, I mean, like one of the important things to take into account here is the concerted standards with the neighboring countries. I mean, Chile may have a different economy than CARICOM, but it's not such a big country. So any lamps that are not going to be commercialized in Chile are going to go to the neighboring countries. The only way to avoid this is through a coordination, consultation with the neighboring countries, so that they all take the same measures at kind of at the same time, and that way the lamps, because the issue with the competitivity is that obsolete lamps, when they flood the market, they will there will be a cheaper alternative to the more efficient lamps, right? And if this happens, then yeah, like it's going to be difficult to make a LED competitive. But in order to avoid this is just making a concerted transition, like as all the countries, to avoid this type of flood. And then as there is a larger market in the region for the LED technologies, also manufacturers can reduce their costs because of economy of scales. And then they can, like the prices will go down because there's more product to offer to more countries, the same product. Yeah.
If I can add, I absolutely agree with Marcelo that the best way to reduce the cost of any product and not only lamps is to have a harmonized standard in the region. And I think CARICOM has been looking into harmonized standards for many years. There's already a strong body cross-cute that has issued and developed standards for energy efficiency, and it's a great mechanism to build on that and hopefully harmonize standards that will phase out fluorescence on the basis of efficiency and on the basis of mercury as well. I think another example to look into is maybe government bulk buys and large procurement processes. We saw that happening in India many years ago when LED lamps were not as available and as accessible as they are today now. The program launched a major replacement program, and basically it allowed competition between importers and manufacturers to bring lamps at a lower cost, and those costs stayed for the long term. So I think especially in the region, in the CARICOM region, if there is opportunity to maybe partner together with some governments and execute and promote a large government bulk buy or maybe private bulk buys as well, that is a mechanism to bring competitiveness to the market, ensure the supply chains are over there as well, and hopefully that can drive the cost down even more. But I think Javier wants to point out the costs are already lower. So please go ahead, Javier.
Yes, that's exactly what I was going to say. Like in most cases, I mean, it's not the case of Jamaica, but in most cases, we found that comparable lamps were already more affordable in their LED technology than in CFL. So this is starting to become a good, like something good for the region. However, it is true that markets are sometimes not super predictable. So things can change and so on, depending on whether the policies are approved or not. If they're not approved in a timely manner, then what Marcelo warned us about it could happen. And then the market will be flooded with inefficient technologies that sell for cheaper because they were targeted for other markets that no longer receive these technologies. But also, just to support what Ana Maria was saying, just like the bulk purchases, our work does not stop on March 25th. And there are many other people who are doing similar work than us. I mean, there's UNEP, there's UNDP. So what I'm trying to say here is that there's a lot of work being done to help countries navigate the transition to efficient technologies. We were doing so 12 years ago with the UNIP-19 initiative. We did the same thing when people were transitioning away from incandescent lamps. Similar questions came up and solutions were provided, or suggested. We gathered pools of experts and we found, okay, maybe you can do this. There are many different supporting policies and mechanisms to help the transition in countries. This is the same. Our work is not over in 3 weeks. If the amendment is approved, we're going to keep, we're going to be here, and we are available to help and support countries in the transition, and what kinds of supporting policies are more fit for each country and so on. So we can accompany as much as countries are willing and able to, to help to have us, basically.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Deva. Does that answer your question? Yes, so thank you so much, Ana, Javier, Marcelo, and Deval for this wonderful session. And just to note that we are here through the ACPME's project, as I said, we are here to engage with the national focal points. If there's any follow-up initiatives that you wish to undertake or have discussions on with Clean Lighting Coalition, we are here to support our members. So please reach out to us and through your national Minimata focal points, of course. So on behalf of the CARICOM Secretariat, I want to thank you all for this very informative session and engaging session. We thank you for the time taken out of your day to present this information and also to listen and, to just reflect on what is going to be happening come next week with the conference sessions in Bali. So again, please feel free to reach out to us, Ana or Javier or Deval, and Shani, of course, within the Secretariat, where we will be happy to provide further support. I'll hand over to Ana to give closing on behalf of Clean Lighting Coalition. But before that, if we could just put our videos on very briefly so we could take a group photo. Shanae is in the back of me. I could see her standing, and then we will close up the session. So over to you, Ana, but if you could just turn on our videos very briefly for a group photo. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Tesha, for this opportunity. I hope this was an informative session for everyone joining. As all of my colleagues have mentioned, we are available to answer any follow-up questions. I will be in Bali next week as well. So if some of you are attending, I will be happy to meet with you there, and we can share as well any information or any evidence that comes back. And I hope that you truly find this opportunity to transition to efficient lighting in the Caribbean as important and as ready as we do today. I think the time to say farewell to fluorescence is now, and we hope that this is informative for you to make and support a decision at the upcoming conference of the parties.
Thank you very much, and all the best to everyone who will be attending COP next week. And Ana, we will be in touch, Javier, and thank you so much. Have a good afternoon, everyone. Deval, Marcelo, and see you all soon. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Have a good
you.
afternoon.
Have a great day, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Gracias, Marcelo.
Nos vemos.
Muchas
chao.
gracias, Marcelo.
Adiós.
Adiós.